Good morning. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar with DVEAS. We're going to be speaking about ConneX and cineXsuite. We're joined by Noah, our solutions architect, and Michael. So I just want to hand over to Michael to do an introduction.
Thank you, James, for the introduction. Guten Morgen zusammen, and a warm welcome to our CineTech webinar. I'm very pleased to have you all here today. We will conduct this webinar in English because we have attendees from all over the EU. This way we can ensure that everyone can follow along and benefit from the session. My name is Michael Rösch, and I'm a sales manager and product specialist at DVE Advanced Systems. It's a great honor for me to introduce ConneX and cineXsuite to you today. Before we dive into the details, I would like to give you a brief overview of our company. Founded as DVEAS in 2013 from a split of DVE, we have a history of more than 25 years in the market. At DVEAS, our core business is to provide software, hardware, and workflows to the media industry. We are committed to providing top-notch solutions that help our clients make their workflows more efficient and productive. Our niche focus, customer proximity, and market experience is what really sets us apart from the competition. In this webinar, we aim to introduce you to the benefits and features of the ConneX and cineXsuite platforms. Noah will show you how easily and efficiently these tools can be used to improve and accelerate your workflows. So without any further ado, let's dive into the presentation. Enjoy and gain valuable insights. Off to Noah.
I'm Noah Shamo. I am a solutions architect for CineTech, and today I'm going to be talking about two of our products, CineX Tools, which is a program for inserting into files, either for a single insert or multiple inserts, as well as our newer product, ConneX, which actually is a workflow program that allows you to build out a node-based workflow and then do things like insert files as well as transcode, insert captioning, rewrap, restrike timecode, all kinds of exciting things. So I'm going to be talking briefly about each of those and just going over what they're capable of, how you might use them in a workflow, and just sort of giving you, if you haven't used our product before, giving you an introduction to them. If you have used our product before, that's sort of updating you on where we're at now. So let's go ahead and take a look at CineX. So I'm going to set that screen share up right now. And you'll notice that it looks familiar. It kind of looks like an NLE. So on the left, we have our source monitor, and on the right, we have our target. So now if I'm doing an insert, and actually just to give you a little big picture, so when would we use it? So if you're working on a project and you're doing a lot of QC fix, so let's say that you're constantly replacing credits, or maybe having to paint things out, and then you're having to paint out, or maybe you're replacing slates, then, or even audio, then you can actually use CineX Tools to do those inserts, and you can do them one at a time, or as I'll show you in a moment, you can do multiple. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So basically what we have here is I'm going to load up the file that's, let's say, failed QC on the right. I'm going to find the shot that failed. Let's say it's this shot. So I'm going to set an endpoint at the head of that shot. Then I'm going to set an out point at the tail of that shot. And then I'm going to load my patch on the right, or sorry, on the left. And I'll go ahead, file, and I'll just set an endpoint on the left here, so that's a 3-point edit. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to either insert into the file that I've loaded on the right here, if I do an essence insert, or if I choose to do an insert with a rewrap, it'll generate a new file and then it'll insert into that. So I have a couple options as far as what I want to insert. I can either insert video, I can insert audio, or I can insert captions, or all. So if I enable them, they will be inserted. So I'm going to do insert video for sure. If I do insert audio, then I definitely want to make sure that I set up my audio mapping. So I'm going to go ahead and click on set up audio mapping. And you can see here, by default, nothing is armed. So even if I choose set up or insert audio, if I don't arm my audio channels for insert, then they won't actually get inserted. So I'm going to go ahead and hit arm all, and then I'll hit save and close, kind of similar to a deck in that sense. And then I don't think the file on the left has a caption track, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that out. Yeah. So I'm going to leave off the caption. So as I mentioned before, I can either do an essence insert or an insert with rewrap. So let's go ahead and duplicate the file, and I'll do an essence insert. So I'm going to write into this original file. So I'm going to go ahead and hit insert. It's telling me that that I'm altering the file essence and it can't be undone. That's fine. I'll hit yes. All right, and you notice that was really fast. The reason that was really fast is that the speed of this insert is really, it's not based on the processor speed of the computer or anything like that. It's really just based on, I mean, technically there is a little bit of transcoding that goes on. As you can see, I have ProRes on the left and XDCAP on the right. But it's the largest contributor to the amount of time is actually your storage speed. So if you have really fast storage, then it's going to insert very quickly. If you have slower storage, it can take longer. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that file. So I inserted in original. Let's look back here. So if I go to that time code, which was 0608. You'll see that we actually overwrote that file, and you can actually see it here in CineX or CineX tool. You can see that we actually inserted this file into this file. Now, I've received questions before about, is this similar to how you used to be able to insert into files in QuickTime Pro? And if you've ever done that, if you ever inserted into files in QuickTime Pro, you may have sent those files off to QC and then received a rejection. The reason for that is that in QuickTime Pro, when you would do a file insert, it wasn't actually inserting the essence of the file or of one file into the other. What it was doing is it was actually creating a playlist that only programs based on QuickTime could read, that said at this time code, for the file that it was inserting into, it would say at this time code, play this file instead. So if you were to send that off to QC, that would absolutely get rejected, because instead of sending QC one file, you've sent them two files with a playlist saying, you know, at a certain point, play this other file. We're not doing anything like that. What we're doing is we're actually replacing the frames in the original file. And you'll notice that one of these is ProRes and the other one is XDCAP. And there's wide compatibility between different formats. So the only thing that you have to make sure of is they have to be the same resolution and they have to be the same frame rate. But the codec, as far as the codec is concerned, it's pretty wide open. The only thing to note is that in order to insert into a file, you have to use a codec that is CBR. CBR stands for constant bitrate. And most codecs are CBR by default, but ProRes is actually BBR by default. So in order to insert into ProRes, you either have to rewrap it first, or you have to use one of our plugins. We have plugins for Media Composer, we have plugins for Premiere, and we have a plugin for Resolve. So if you use those plugins, you can either generate an insertable ProRes from those programs, which is actually a free function. You don't need to purchase a plugin to be able to do that. Or you can actually do the insert from the program. So for example, if you purchase our AMA plugin for Avid, you can actually you can actually insert into your MOV file just by selecting an in and out point in the timeline and then selecting your file in Finder, and it will actually insert the insert the frame for. So you can, with those plugins, you can generate insertable ProRes files with your NLE, and then you can bring those insertable files into CineX tools. Alternatively, as I mentioned before, you could also do the plugin to do the insert. And then once you have the insertable files in CineX tools, then you can perform your insert. Alternatively, you could also use the rewrap and audio versioning tab, and you could load your original VBR ProRes in here, rewrap it to CPU. Now, I mentioned that you can do a single insert. Now, alternatively, if you're doing QC fixes, oftentimes you want to do more than one. So we also have a tab for that. So if you go into our second tab here, which says Insert Multiple Source Single Target, you'll see that you can actually load up multiple inserts, and then you can insert them into the original file. As you saw before, if it doesn't find the time code, it's red. If it does, white. But these two are actually overwriting each other. So what would I do in this situation? Well, you can see here that my timecode source is set to patch. Alternatively, I can set this to user, and then I can put in my own. Let's say I want this to come right after the other. 01, 00, 59. No. Okay. So then when I do that, you'll see right here that it actually tells me where each of these is going to go. And all I have to do is I can choose insert selected, which will insert the one that I have selected, or I can choose insert all. And I have all the options that I had in the other tab. So I can do an insert the rewrap. I can choose to insert the video, audio. I can insert captions, and then I can set up audio map. So then we have a couple other options in here as well. We have the ability to extract audio to a file. So for example, if I have this file here, if I wanted that audio to be extracted to a WAV file, then I could actually add tracks, and then I could say route to one file, or I could route them separately. So I could end up with either one WAV file with multiple tracks, or I could end up with two WAV files, each with a single track. And then from there, I would choose to extract that audio. I could also trim or extend. So trimming is pretty standard. You can do that in most programs, which basically allows you to shorten the file. But we can also extend files. So for example, if you needed to add actor, wanted to add black at a certain time, you can actually put in here that you want a marker, and then you can say at that marker add time. You can specify the amount of time you want to add. Alternatively, you could say at that time, or at that marker, I want to subtract time before the marker, or I want to subtract time at the marker, or I want to add time. You could do any of those. We also have the ability to rewrap. So if, as I mentioned before, if you're dealing with ProRes files and you need to insert it to ProRes files, you can rewrap. And you can also do audio versioning. So audio versioning is the idea that instead of having to re-render a file every time you change the audio or the audio layout, what you can do is you can load in your master. You can choose edit audio layout. You can say, for example, that you want track 2 to be, let's say, silent. Or let's say I want to make this an 8 channel, and I want channels 8 sorry, 7 and 8 to be WAV files. I can actually do that, and it'll just make it so that I can specify which WAV files I want to use. And then here, I'll go back to, and then my other tracks, I could say, I could either make them something based on what's already in the file, or I can make it silent. And then when I hit save and close, if I hit process now, it will generate for me a new file that has all of the original video in the exact same container format, but with a new audio layout. So this saves me a ton of time, because instead of having to re-export from, let's say, Avid every time I want to change my audio config, if everything is in my original file, I can just do it right here. So that's audio versioning. We have the ability to edit UK DVEAS 11 metadata. So if you're constantly editing metadata, you can do it from in here, and you're not actually rendering anything, so it's just modifying the metadata in the file. So as soon as you hit commit changes, it will actually make those changes to the file. And then we have closed captioning. So what you can do with closed captioning is you can actually edit the captions on your file. So for example, if we wanted, let's say this says previously on elementary. Let's change this to previously on elementary. So with most captioning programs, when you make a change, you have to rewrap the entire file. With CineX tools, it's simply a metadata change, and it makes it immediately. So all we have to do is hit OK to our change. Oh, I probably so let's say previously on reset valid. Let's say previously on elemental. Okay, so it's now, let's say it's now called elemental. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And as long as I don't get any errors, you can see that it updates in my preview right here. And then if I open that file up, I'm actually going to get them here. Yeah. So it says previously on elementary. If I hit commit changes, then we should see
previously on elementary.
Yeah. Yeah. So we should see immediately that it well, as soon as we reopen the video player, that it changes to elemental because we made that modification in CineX tool. So that's CineX tools. It allows you to insert video or audio into a file. It allows you to do multiple inserts with custom time code. It allows you to extract the audio from a video file into one or multiple WAV files. It allows you to trim or extend files. You can do audio versioning, as I mentioned, where you create multiple versions with different audio configurations from a master. You can edit DPP AS11 metadata, or you can edit closed caption without rewrapping. So that is CineX tools. Let's go ahead and take a look at our other product next. So I'm going to stop the screen share and switch over to my other system. So ConneX is, as you saw, I was using CineX tools on a Mac. CineX tools is Mac and Windows compatible. ConneX is a full workflow system. So it's actually only Windows. So I'm going to switch over to that here. All right, so here we have ConneX. So the idea behind ConneX is that, as I mentioned before, it's a node-based program for creating workflows that you can run on a regular basis. So, for example, if you're transcoding daily, you can set it up so that you have, let's say, a scan folder. So it scans a folder, and then from there, let's say it copies the files to a location. It uploads them. Let's say it uploads them the backplate. And then maybe well, let's say from there it just starts transcode. Actually, let's do a hash sum calculation. Calculate a hash sum, and then we'll just start transcode. So we'll set this up to transcode. Your options in here are pretty wide open. I'm gonna go ahead and do DNX36. I feel like that is pretty common. So after the hash sum, I'm gonna set this transcode node to DNXHD, and I'll do DNX36. And I'm gonna do, this is gonna be Avid Media, so I'm gonna do OP Atom MXF. And then I don't need any burn-ins on this. But I can actually do a custom tape name if I wanted to. And I can do that based on the file name, along with any part of the file path. So for example, if your file path contains your tape name, then you can actually build that in the tape name field right here, and you can find documentation on how to do that on our website. So I'm going to set that transcode node there, and then I'm going to set another one right here, and this will be our proc. So I'm going to generate H264s. So I'll do 1080p H264 fine, and then I'm going to do that as before, and I'm going to do a burn it on it. So text color white on black, that's good. And then lastly, I'm going to make some, let's say that this is like already raw, and I want to make some new masters that are ProRes. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a transcode node, another one, and I'm going to do, let's say that the source is UHD. So I'm going to do UHD, and I'm going to say ProRes HD. And so then from there, once these finish, we can set that to, let's say, copy to a location, back a little bit. And then we could do like upload to S3, or what happened? Upload to S3 again. And S3 transcode, let's say, get uploaded. Connect to. And then let's say at the end, I want a notification that so I can actually throw a mail report in here, and I can connect every node to that mail report right here. And then it'll send me at the end a summary email that'll tell me what it did and what succeeded and what failed. So within this program, we have a lot of options. One thing that I didn't mention is that we actually have a metadata filter. So for example, if you have a bunch of media and some of it is 2398, some of it is 2997, and you want to do different things depending on the frame rate, you can actually have it filter out, let's say the 2398, and you can send that off to, let's say, a through branch, and then you can send off the 2997 media to a completely different branch to perform different actions. In addition to that, we have integration with QScan, which is a third-party QC utility. And then this whole thing, what you're seeing here is what we call a scenario. So this is a scenario right here. We can have multiple scenarios. So this one is currently called default. I could rename that. Name scenario. Let's call this daily. And then I could have a completely different scenario called, let's say, deliverable. I'll rename this scenario, or I could create a new one. Deliverable. Let's create a new one. Call it run. So I can have 3 or however many completely different scenarios, and they can be separated by show, they can be separated by process, and they can be as complex or as simple as I need them to be. And they can actually be running simultaneously. So if I had multiple scenarios that all had a watch folder, see at the top, I have a watch folder, then they can all be looking at different folders, waiting for media to be dropped into those folders. And as soon as media is dropped in, they will start transcoding. Now, one question that we get a lot is, do we have support for node-based transcoding? Meaning, can you set up multiple systems and then have sort of a hub system that that splits the job up between the other systems? That is something that we are currently working on and should have ready pretty soon, but is not ready quite yet. But ConneX is even in its current form is extremely capable, and it's really good for dailies. It's really good for deliverables. One thing I didn't mention is the video insert function that I showed in CineX tools is also possible in here. The wave insert function is also possible in here. And then you can do trim, you can do restripe, you can do rewrap. So there's a lot of different things that you can do from within. So that pretty much wraps it up. As I mentioned, that was CineX Tools, which is our program for. I mean, there's a lot of functionality, but the main thing that CineX Tools does is inserting video or audio into, let's say, a master file. And then we have ConneX, which is our node-based utility for transcoding, dailies, for deliverables, video inserts. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please let us know. And I think I'm going to pass it back to you, Michael. Thank you very much.
On behalf of our entire team, we would like to thank you all for your participation and attention. We hope you found the presentation useful and insightful. If you have any further questions or need additional information, please do not hesitate to contact us via email or phone. We are here to assist you. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you to James and Noah.
Thank you, Michael. Just to reiterate, as Michael said, thanks everybody for joining. Hope you got a lot of insight from it. And yeah, please do reach out to Michael and the team to find out more information. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, James. Take care. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.